I was reading with interest a blog that you put out this week called The Mosaic Economy, and I was just interested to chat about that because there was just some things in that that I found really interesting and quite relevant, and would like to chat about that and how that sort of has an impact, or how that relates to business and business owners.
Okay, well, maybe I should explain a little bit how I see the mosaic economy, first of all, um, and then make clear what it is that we're talking about, and then we can look at what a difference that might make, and also what some of the issues might be and what needs to be solved in that. It arises out of looking at the world, I guess, looking at business, looking at the state of the world, a lot of reflection, a lot of conversations with people about how we could make things work better. Because there are a lot of people working in businesses not enjoying what they're doing, but working because they need to make money and not happy, which is not good for their health and well-being. It's not good for their family. So if you have a lot of people unhappy at work, that's quite a negative situation in its impact. If you take that further and we look at, even more so with COVID, at the change, the likely changes, what I can see is that more and more people are going to become self-employed. There's already been a massive shift towards self-employment and very small businesses. And I can only see that growing as companies lay off more and more people in the coming years. And that means you have millions and millions of people, all very small operations in this very crowded marketplace. And I started to ask how all of this could work. And I always have this imagination, I've had this for a long time, this vision of a world, first of all, a world that works for all of us, which is what Buckminster Fuller talked about, that we need to create a world that works for all of us. At the moment, it clearly favours some over others in ways that are radically unfair, and it don't make sense. So we need to create a world that works for all of us. And I believe that we need to create a world where people can share their real value. So many of us have gifts, we have experience, we have abilities, we have some contribution to make that is currently not really valued. And I see this in the undervalued kinds of work. And I also see it in really regular kinds of work. So if I take accountants, for example, let's start with people like you. How do you distinguish one accountant from another, really? So they have some marketing, they describe themselves. Your qualifications are all the same. You've got this experience or that experience, this many years or that many years. Maybe you work with this type of company or that type of company. But in the professions even, what I look for in an accountant, for example, is their character. Far more. I'm going to assume they've got the qualifications and the experience, but I look for their character. Do they make me feel safe and secure? Or I have a friend who looks for a creative accountant, somebody who can really help him with his creative ideas and make things work. So we look for qualities in people, not just the traditional things. And so all of these things have played together in my mind to creating a picture of an economy where each person does the thing essentially that they love to do, but it does the thing that they're really well suited to doing. They're contributing, and that we are able to value what people are able to give. And that we understand the value, for example, of taking care of small children. If children are not well cared for when they're young, that has a legacy for the rest of their life and beyond their life. So to me, we would value the people who take care of small children, whether it's mothers or childcare workers or kindergarten or playgroups or whatever, really highly because of the value they add to society. We don't do that at the moment. In fact, some of the most highly paid people are people who play with money. They just play with things like currencies and just play with something. And why does that have more value than somebody who's really contributing to our quality of life. So for me, the key to the mosaic economy is that a mosaic is made up of lots of different pieces. They're all broken pieces, essentially. None of the pieces is perfect. And they fit together and make a work of art, although they're all different. But the other thing is that no piece in a mosaic is more important than another. So I think this is so important for human beings to understand that you might lead a whole lot of people because you're a very good leader. Somebody else might do a really simple job or a very private job where they don't influence so many people, at least in an overt way. But does that make you more important than the other person? Or does it just make you good at being a leader and that person is good at doing whatever their job is, their data analysis or something? And I think we've got very distorted because we say that somebody who's a CEO of a large company, we somehow in our minds have that they're more important. But we all know that in the end, they're a human being just like anybody else. And they have kids and they have bodies that sometimes perform and sometimes don't perform very well. And they get sick just like anyone else. And I think it's really important that we have a more real understanding of each other's value and ways of rewarding that value that create a world that works for all of us. So that's what lies beneath the mosaic economy.